Tracking a big storm lineup this week, the brunt of our next storm heading Monday into Tuesday with dangerous travel, heavy rain and snow, plus the opportunity for thunderstorms and gusty winds in the valley. We'll see some slightly better conditions by Wednesday into Thursday, but this is going to be a rough start to the week. Here's a look at some of the preliminary snow totals that we're expecting, with chains likely, travel highly discouraged in the Sierra, anywhere from about 48 to 60 inches of snow for some of the passes along major Sierra roads. For the valley, again, preliminary amounts, about a half an inch to an inch by the time we get to Wednesday morning, with thunderstorms in the forecast, travel delays, and longer commutes as well. It's going to be a slow start to our Monday morning here and right on through our Wednesday. Showers from our weekend storm system pulling off. We've had a lot of difficult travel in the Sierra. At times, 80 has been shut down. Chains on Highway 50. That continues south of Highway 50 with areas of snow all the way down to nearly Groveland, Sonora, and Arnold, Miwok Village, as well as Twain Harte, getting in on several inches of new powder. As far as our precip totals, just a heads up on this one. This is going to account for mainly liquid precipitation. So what we're seeing in places like Placerville and Auburn that did see a bit of a mix, we're going to account for about an inch or so of snow. Most of that melted in Placerville, whereas Lake Tahoe closing in on over 3 inches of snow. It's been steady snow, no rainfall there. As far as the valley, precipitation about 1/4 of an inch or less, but we are going to get a lot more in the forecast. Tonight, some clearing, but here's what's on tap for tomorrow. There's the big band of rain that's going to start to press our way. We're going to get through most of the commute without heavy rainfall, but that is not the case across the Bay Area, where the rain will be starting up much earlier. So along I-80, you can see intense rainfall occurring right around 9 a.m. Same along I-5. If you head a little bit farther up along I-5, we're going to be talking about snowfall. And then for that 80-50 corridor, snow already starting up by 9 a.m. Highway 50, 88, 89, all the way through the Central Sierra along 365. We'll see that snow developing throughout the day. And snow and travel actually are going to be in that high extreme impact zone. Rain and wind more on the moderate level. It's still going to have an impact on our forecast, but a little bit less of one than, say, the snow and the travel in the Sierra. And this is why. Look at how this map is all lit up. Multiple watches, warnings, and advisories that will continue through the middle of our week. The Sierra hazardous driving conditions include near whiteout conditions, major travel delays, road closures possible. We've seen it even this weekend with a much less intense storm. Chain controls almost a guarantee, and travel highly discouraged. And that will be all the way down the hill into some of the upper foothills and the lower Sierra. You can see our extreme impact map includes much of the 80-50 corridor, north of 80, south of Highway 50, as well as across the coast here, where we've been seeing periods of snowfall coming in across the coastal range. Our winter storm warning goes into effect, or I should say is in effect, and will continue and through early Wednesday morning with up to 3 feet of snow. Now, keep in mind with this map, some of us will transition over to a blizzard warning by 4 a.m. on Monday. And that will continue through Wednesday morning with up to 7 feet of new snow with wind gusts over 60 miles per hour. That's going to mean nearly whiteout conditions with travel nearly impossible over the Sierra. I would guarantee, almost guarantee, that those roads are going to be closed periodically due to spinouts and just impassable conditions. Okay, so here's a look at our winter weather advisory along I-5. That includes areas of Redding and Red Bluff, with our snow level at times down to about 500 feet. So it's not necessarily right down to the valley floor at some of those lower elevations, but certainly upper valley locations will have that chance of some low snow with up to about 5 inches accumulating. Wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour, difficult travel, and again, chains very likely. If you plan to head up the hill to try to do some skiing or snowboarding, I know it's very tempting with all that fresh powder, but an avalanche watch is in effect. And I did see over the course of the weekend that they did have some wind hold on a lot of the resorts and some of those lifts. So it's going to be a situation where we just need to wait it out. This will continue through Wednesday morning. We'll continue to watch to see if it is elevated into an avalanche warning. But right now, the high intensity snowfall plus the rapid accumulation will make large avalanches possible through that time frame. Back to the valley locations. We get into this wind advisory that starts up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Gusts from about 40 to 50 miles per hour. Possible tree branches down, which could take out some power lines, and possible localized power outages. The winds really start to ramp up during the morning commute as the main part of that system starts to press our way. It'll be peaking right around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, especially for the valley. And then we'll continue to see the rain showers, but the wind starts to back off ever so slightly. It's not to say we won't see those occasional gusts, but just the strongest will be tapering off at that point. We've had a drying out period. So for a time, it looked like things just weren't going to get going again. But as you can see, by late last week, things really took a turn for a much wetter outlook here. We had almost an inch of rain back on the 24th on that Friday, and then things were a little bit lighter over the weekend, but we have really turned the tables here back to a wetter scenario. And we kind of need it at this point as well, especially after 2.5+ weeks drawing out. We were starting to see some of those numbers go down throughout the state in terms of our averages. We were falling below average here for Palm Springs, Redding, Eureka. The rest of the state looking really good with our numbers. We're above average, but February is one of our wettest months out of the year, followed by, obviously, March. We start to see some of that rainfall taper off, as well as in April, and then by May, June, July, we're basically down to nothing throughout the valley. So this is our time. This is our window of opportunity to really get some of that rainfall coming in. Looking at our reservoirs, especially with some of the rainfall and the snowpack that we have up in the Sierra, there's still plenty of capacity in places like Shasta, Oroville, and Folsom for all that runoff to occur. We're roughly about 85 to over 100% of average. It's just that if you go and you look at any of the reservoirs, they still look a little bit on the low side. And I'll explain why that is in just a minute. First of all, we'll look at New Melones, Don Pedro, and San Luis. Again, all roughly about 75 to over 100% of average, but capacity for all the snow melt. So that's where I want to head next, is the Sierra. And as you can see, when we look at these numbers, we really can't have those reservoirs all the way to the top because all of this snow is about to melt come the dry season right around April 1st. That's when we typically see some of that snow starting to melt off and filling the reservoirs. And if you look at the April 1st numbers, we're well over average. We're 117% of average for the Northern Sierra, almost 150% of average for the Central Sierra, Southern Sierra at 175% roughly for the Southern Sierra from that April 1st. And for the statewide average, we're at 144% of average. So if we didn't get any more snowfall, we would have met what we normally get for an entire water year. And it's still going to be coming our way. We are likely cooler in the next 2 weeks and likely wetter as well. So this is just the beginning of kind of turning the tide back to that wetter and colder outlook. And we've already gotten the storm door open, and now that Monday through Wednesday storm comes ripping through Northern California, just dumping a tremendous amount of rain and snow. And it's a cold one, too. We're going to stay well below average for our temperatures. That's going to bring that snow line down to about 1,000 feet. Not anywhere near Folsom, but it will be just up the hill here. And that also means chain controls go in very low on the hill, slow going, and very likely those roads will be shut down. 80 has been seeing a lot more shutdowns than, say, 50, but that's not to say if there's a really bad accident or just a lot of spinouts, to close the roads and really not opening them up until they feel that they can get enough traffic moving through the hill safely. All right, the other thing that we're looking at is the chance of thunderstorms for tomorrow. Again, this is going to have a lot of instability with it, with some of that cold air working in. We get through the rain showers for tonight, the snow on and off in the Sierra until early tomorrow morning. So there's really not much of an opportunity to get up in the Sierra without having consistent snowfall. We're right back at it by tomorrow. We'll time this out once again. Here we are, 11 o'clock. The rain from Yuba City through Sacramento, Elk Grove, almost in through Stockton and Modesto along I-5, Highway 99. That will move off to the east. Behind it, some instability, chance of thunderstorms rolling through here. And snow for the Sierra, it's going to be pretty steady right through our Tuesday and Wednesday forecast. The valley sees a little bit more of pockets of that dry air, but that is not the case for this year. It looks like it's going to be pretty steady right on through Wednesday morning. By Tuesday night, the valley actually starts to dry off. It mostly lingers with that storm system in the Sierra. Total rainfall, again, just looking at some more localized numbers. We looked at the overall 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and here we're kind of breaking it down into some of those city locations. Stockton with about 3/4 of an inch of rain. Modesto just shy of an inch. Sacramento about an inch or so. Same for Roseville, Yuba City. We get into some of these areas that are going to be the upper valley locations, lower foothills, and that's where it's going to be a rain-snow mix. So again, this is just going to account for the liquid precipitation that we'll see. If we were to take that snow, melt it down, that's about what we would see. So as we look at the snowfall, again, you're going to see some areas that saw some rain totals as well as snow totals, and that's just because that's going to be that line of where we see that mixed bag of precipitation all the way through Sonora, Twain Harte, Arnold, Pollock Pines. It's going to be a steady snow. Emigrant Gap, 55 inches. Tahoe City, 51. South Lake Tahoe, 43. It's going to be great once all this clears out, but it's going to take some time. So if you're planning on doing any skiing and snowboarding, Thursday, Friday look like great days to do so. Wednesday in the afternoon, actually, if you want to head up into the high country, it looks okay for that period as well. Well, we get a brief break. Thursday and Friday is going to be our break from this action, and then we're right back at it by the upcoming weekend into the early part of next week. That's why that long-range outlook is calling for likely colder and wetter in our forecast.